start. Kind of crazy how fast that first month of the year went. Last week, we talked about Isaac. It wasn't as familiar of a story with the wells, and that's right, Peter, they had to dig out the wells so that they could get water because there'd been a what in the land? A famine, that's right. There'd been a lack of rain. They couldn't grow their crops, and they were starving. So they had to move to Gerar. So that was not so familiar. Today's story, though, boys and girls, if you've been in church for any amount of time, you've probably heard this story. This is a more familiar story to most of us. Okay, although I was going over it with Peter here a few minutes ago and I kept mixing all the names up. So I'm hoping that as I tell the story, I'll keep the names straight. But we have Isaac, who is married to Rebekah. And then we had talked about how they had favorite children. Rebekah favored Jacob, Isaac favored Esau. Well, Isaac is getting older, and the Bible basically explains to us that he feels like he could pass away at any time. Okay? Yes, very sad, Peter. And so he realizes that he needs to pass on a blessing to Esau. Esau was the firstborn of the two twins, so the blessing was supposed to go to Esau. Again, they're twins, so there wasn't much time between the two of them. Jacob, he liked to stay at home for the most part. He liked to work with mom. We had talked about that before. Esau was known for being hairy. Okay, so Peter and I were talking about that earlier. Peter's hands are a little bit hairier than my hands are, okay? They would feel different. Yeah, Peter's face. Nice and soft. A privilege I have, you don't, on the other side of the camera. Maybe someday you'll get to meet Peter in person. A few of you have, actually. Peter visited a few people back in 9-10 months ago. Wow, that's crazy. Anyways, Esau, though, he felt different. Now, why do I bring that up? Like, why are you bringing up how one brother feels different than another? Well, most of us boys and girls, we look at people and we know who they are. We can look at their face and say, I know that this is so-and-so, or this is my friend so-and-so, or this is... But Isaac, as he's gotten older, his eyes have gotten worse and worse, and he really can't see. So between the two boys, he doesn't know, well, I say boys, they're grown men at this point. He can't see to know which boy is which. Okay, so it's going to be important to remember that Jacob doesn't really have, he has hair on his head, okay, but he doesn't feel hairy, okay, but Esau does. So anyways, now that we've got that background set, okay, Isaac, who can't see very well, knows he's going to pass away soon, wants to pass on the birthright to Esau. But we need to retrieve from the back of our minds a previous Bible story that we talked about a few weeks ago. What had happened when Esau was so hungry after a day out in the field? Do you remember what happened? He was so hungry that he traded Jacob his birthright. So this blessing should go to Jacob out of trickery. Now, also it should go to Jacob because God had promised it would. But God had a plan without Jacob being tricky. But we're going to find that Jacob didn't learn from the first time. Neither did his mom, Rebekah. Well, Isaac calls in Esau. He tells him, he says, son, I know I'm getting older. I know that I'm going to pass away soon. I'm going to give you your birthright, your blessing. He goes, but first, I want you to go out into the field. I want you to get some venison for me, basically kill an animal, cook it up for me. I love to eat the meat that you have caught for me in the field. He says, you go out and do that. When you come back in, then I will give you your birthright. So Esau does that. Well, this whole time this conversation's taking place, outside of the tent, or outside there, Rebekah's listening. Jacob's supposed to get the birthright. It's not supposed to go to Esau, it's supposed to go to Jacob. Oh, and she decides she's going to take things out of God's hands and put them in her own hands. She's going to try to solve it her way, not God's. What do you think, boys and girls? Good idea or bad idea? Bad idea. God had a plan. God was going to work it out. But Rebekah said, I'm going to do it my own way. So she calls Jacob over. She's like, Jacob, come here. You got to hear what I just heard. And they get in and she tells him, she's like, Esau is going out to kill an animal and then take it to your dad for the birthright. But you're supposed to get the birthright. I've got a plan. So they talk about this plan. I want you to go kill 2 goats. Bring the goats back. We'll cook them up and you can take it to your dad. Jacob's like, okay, we got the food part figured out. He's thinking in his head. He goes, but we don't feel alike. Like my dad's gonna ask and he's gonna need to know that I'm Esau, but I don't feel like Esau. And he doesn't sound like Esau either. It's a little harder to change your voice that much. But he says, I don't feel like it. And Rebekah says, I will take care of it. I will take care of the fact that you don't feel like Esau. So Jacob obeys. He goes, he gets the 2 goats, brings them back, and mom cooks it up for him. And then they take some of the skin from the goat that they have killed and they put it on the backs of Jacob's hands and then also on his neck or his face area so that if his dad touched him, he would feel like, gave him a hug, he would feel like he was hairy. Okay, so they had a plan for it. Well, they cook up the food and Jacob takes it in to Isaac. And Isaac's like, who's here? And Jacob says, it's Esau. Well, he just lied to his dad. And Isaac says, I know I can't see you. You sound like Jacob. Are you sure you're Esau? I mean, you just got that food really fast. For having to go out, hunt for it, kill it, bring it back, cook it. He's thinking, this happened way too fast for that. And Jacob's response is, well, God blessed me. He says that God brought him the animal quickly. And that's not really true either, boys and girls, because it wasn't that he'd gone out and shot them. He had killed 2 goats they already had. But he continues to deceive his father. And his father eats the meat and the food that he has brought to him. And he asks to feel I knew I was going to mess up these names, boys and girls, going back and forth with them. He asked to feel Jacob, who's pretending to be Esau. He asked to feel him, and he feels him, and he goes, you feel like Esau, but you feel like Esau, but you talk like Jacob, but I can't see. So he blesses him, boys and girls. We are in Genesis chapter 27. And it says, I'm going to read to you how he blessed him, the blessings that he gives. Verse 26, chapter 7, verse 26. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Basically, boys and girls, he's saying God's going to bless you with food, with plenty. You're not going to need or want. You're going to have blessings. Verse 29, let people serve thee. In other words, he's going to be a ruler over people. And nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. So Isaac gives this blessing to Jacob, and he says, you're going to prosper. You're going to have more than you could ever want or need. And people are going to bow down to you. You are going to rule over them. Those who go against you are going to be cursed. Those who are for you, who help you, will be blessed. And he gives him this blessing. So he finishes it, and Jacob leaves. And right after that, boys and girls, right after Jacob leaves, in comes Esau. Well, Esau doesn't know what's happened. Isaac thinks he's given the blessing and the birthright, and in comes Esau, and he's excited to see his dad. He's super excited. He's brought the meat for his dad. He knows he's going to get the blessing. This is a big day for Esau. And he comes in, verse 30, And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. Verse 32, And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? What? Can you imagine your dad saying that? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. Verse 33, And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, said, Who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. Wait a minute, what? You're Esau? I thought I just blessed Esau. You can't be Esau. And Isaac realizes what happens, and so does Esau. Esau realizes, and Esau remembers that he had traded his birthright with Jacob. And Esau just begs his dad, Dad, isn't there something you can bless me with? Isn't there some blessing that's left? Isn't there something you can give? Bible tells us that both Esau and Isaac are crying. They're both upset about this trickery that's just happened. And boys and girls, and Isaac goes on to explain to Esau that he can bless him, but there's in a sense not much left to give him. And he tells him, he said, I said to your brother that you were going to serve him. You're going to bow down to him. But he explains that it'll only be for a time, and then Esau will get his freedom. Boys and girls, did God want that heartache for Esau? Did he want him to be deceived? Did God want that heartache for Isaac? No, he really didn't, boys and girls. God had a plan. He would have worked it out. Rebekah and Jacob didn't have to trick Isaac. No, boys and girls, with that trickery came a lot of pain for Jacob and Rebekah as well. Esau is going to get really mad at Jacob, and Jacob's going to have to leave. And Jacob's never going to get to see his mom again. Was it really worth it to never get to see his mom again, to have to leave his family? Boys and girls, God always has a right way to do things. God always wants us to do what's right. If we're doing what's right, He'll protect us. He'll guide us. He'll lead us. He wants to take care of you. He wants to help you. But we have to do what's right, boys and girls. Don't try to do things our own way. Don't try to solve something our own way. Okay, we always want to do things God's way, not try to manipulate, big word, work things out so they're to my advantage. I want to do them God's way. Well, boys and girls, I hope you have a great day.